Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Joining me today is Jennifer Reynolds, who is founder of Jen of Arch, based in Charlottetown. Thanks for joining us today, Jennifer.
Thanks for having me, Mario.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the company. Tell me just what it is that you do.
Okay, so I am a makeup artist. I've been doing makeup for over 25 years. I actually used to work in Toronto in the commercial world, freelance world, doing a lot of TV commercials, print, etc. And now I'm based in Charlottetown, PEI, and I offer a various number of services. But in the last couple of years, I actually invented an eyebrow product that is targeted towards women over 40 who've lost their eyebrows to um, hormones, illness, etc. And it's sort of like a foolproof, easiest way to fill in your eyebrows with no guesswork.
Where does somebody get this?
You could get it on my website at jenofarch.com. And within PEI, if you're visiting, which a lot of people do in the summer,
Yeah.
my studio is also Jen of Arch. I have a booking system on my website.
Okay, then. Let's go back in time. How did you start? First of all, how did you start in the business of being a makeup artist?
I worked, you may remember Eaton's.
Oh, yes, yes. Not many
I
do.
No, I know. I worked a counter, and out of anything that I did, I loved applying makeup to people, and I felt like I was the only one. It was a free service or a complimentary service that we offered, and I could do that all day long. Anyway, I sort of was at a crossroads in my life, and I thought, there's something to this. So I went straight up to Toronto and found a really good makeup school, moved to Toronto, went to the school, and then immediately out of school, one of my instructors, who had an agent and he was doing very well in the makeup and hair world, he took me on as an assistant or apprentice. And I worked with him for about a year or so and learned under him. Yeah, great experience, amazing experience.
Yeah. What was it about this industry that appealed to you?
I guess it feels a little frivolous, but I guess it's the act of applying makeup, which is really can be quite trivial, but what it can do internally for someone, it's amazing how you can light someone up very easily with, a few little strokes of a makeup brush.
Yeah, yeah. And I understand over the years you've had some interesting people that you've worked with. Can you talk
Yeah,
about that?
yeah. I have when I worked in Toronto, I had the opportunity to work with Harry Connick Jr., who of course has been around forever. A lot of people don't know that he played music from a very young age and then went into TV. Nora Jones, who's won number of
Mhm.
Grammys. Um, Wayne Gretzky, who was a pleasure to work with. I know nowadays it's not a name a lot of Canadians like to hear, but he was lovely to work with every time I worked with him. Very charming, very professional.
Yeah. So these celebrities, how did they come about that you ended up working with them?
Well, I ended up being taken on by the agency that the guy I apprenticed was with. And for makeup and hair people in the entrepreneurial world, in the free world, in the freelance world, it's a leg up to be accepted by an agent because it takes some of the workload off. You've got someone repping it for you, reaching out for you, making contacts with photographers, etc. It really does help. So it was through my agency, Judy Inc., who's very established. They're still in Toronto and BC. Yeah, they got me those gigs.
So, and sorry, where are you from originally?
Montreal.
Oh, you're from Montreal. Okay,
Yeah.
then. So how do you end up in Charlottetown?
My parents moved here when I was going into high school.
Ah,
And then as soon as I finished high school, I moved away and then came back, moved away and came back. And then this time moved. I'm here for a while. I don't think it's my final stop though.
oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so, what's it like running a business from there, as opposed to say in Toronto?
Well, I guess, it's a smaller population base. So I you would think of that as a detriment, but I will say, and I'm not sure where you're from, Mario, but um, small towns, word of mouth
Mhm.
is amazing, and you you save a ton of money in advertising
Ah,
because word of mouth is so it's so prevalent. It's just like
yeah.
word spreads like wildfire, right?
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I never really thought of that, but it's so true, right?
Yeah. Where
Yeah.
are you from? Are you from a large center? Are you from?
Well, I'm actually from Ottawa originally, but
Okay.
like I'm based in Calgary now. But I started off my career in Nelson, BC. It was a very small town,
Yes.
and the idea, in a small town, everybody knows everybody, right? And you're right. Outside of the local radio station and local newspaper, the businesses, that's how they got their word out, right? And then obviously just by the customers and their experiences there, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. What where'd the name come from? Obviously, the Jen is the easy part of it, but what does of arch signify?
So when I was making I used to have, I rebranded. And so when I was creating these eyebrow products, um, I was racking my brain to come up with a name that would resonate with eyebrows, et cetera, et cetera. And my marketing person, just like that, came up with Jen of Arch, just to play on words with Joan of Arc.
Yeah,
Um, and sometimes people look at it and how people tend not to read things.
yeah,
They just see, say a first and last letter.
yeah,
And if you think about it, by association, like Joan of Arc, it's just about an incredible Joan of Arc. The story, right,
yeah.
is she's this empowered young woman who goes off and fights, but it's just about empowerment. So my name is Jen of Arch, but it's also empowered beauty. Reason being, I like to think that I'm very practical in when I teach people makeup or show people makeup or anything like that. Um, because I think when you come from that standpoint, rather than all the videos that you see today where it's just put this on, put that on, but there's no reason behind or teaching why. Um, yeah, that's sorry, I'm going off on a tangent, but it's just
Okay.
about how makeup, like I said from the beginning, the get go, how makeup, very small thing, very trivial, but how empowering it can be.
No,
So that's
yeah. No,
story.
obviously, everybody when we think about makeup, we think about women wearing it, right? But you mentioned a couple of males and in the celebrities thing, but I imagine that's a little different. But what I'm curious about is, are you finding more men are using makeup in different ways?
I think so in larger centers, like locally, it's
Yeah,
more that I'd be grooming a guy for on camera stuff
yeah,
or
yeah.
headshots or something like that. Like I'm guessing yourself, you've probably either done it on yourself or had people for camera, and you're very comfortable with it.
Yeah, 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 I hear you. Yeah, but
Yeah.
like for general use, do you think I know you're probably in a smaller town, no, but I don't know, maybe in a Toronto or a Vancouver or a Montreal, do you think more men are paying attention to stuff like that?
I do think so. I do. Whether it's just a sheer even balanced skin tone, so a very light sort of tinted primer, that kind of thing, or bronzer just to add a little color. Yeah, I think so. Like
Yeah.
say the last time I was in Toronto, walking down the street, and makeup done well isn't necessarily blatantly obvious. It's just enhancing, right? Would you not say that? Like I said,
Yeah.
when you have put it on for camera?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah. So I'm curious, when you started and ventured on your own, what was the biggest challenge you faced?
I'll tell you, I've always wanted to work for myself. I
Ah,
realize now that I have always had like an entrepreneurial brain. Um, I don't see, and a lot of people would see an obstacle as a block or a roadblock. You talk to entrepreneurs and they don't think of it that way. It's like, okay, there's a block. How do I get over it, around it, or under it?
yeah.
Um, Also, I never like being told what to do. So I did not
Nobody
make it.
does.
No, you're right. But it doesn't make a good employee.
Yeah.
And I also found when I worked for people and, they had certain systems in place and, I'd come in and I'd see something and I'd just be dying to say, um, well, if we do it this way, we'll save time. Or if we do it that way, we'll use less ink, something like that. And that's not very well received.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you first started out, and dealing with some of the challenges and just being a business owner on on your own, um, what helped you along that journey? Were there people, or there examples of people, or were there books? What helped you?
It's getting to know other entrepreneurs that their path wasn't, I mean, no one's life is a straight line. And especially an entrepreneur, again, with those blocks, right? Going over and under, being friends with and or working with other entrepreneurs and learning that they never went to school for it. They never got a degree for it. They may not be formally trained in any way, shape, or form, but they were successful. Like I truly admired that. They made their path themselves. That I found that incredibly inspiring.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. When you look into the future, where do you hope to be going with this venture?
So the eyebrow products. So I launched the products themselves. I worked on them for a good 3 years. They were in my head for over 10
Oh, wow.
and launched in October. I won an award in New York for them in September. So the month before I launched. And my goal is to remain direct to consumer. So through my website, available in person. I'm seriously considering Amazon
Oh,
because it's such no, it's okay, marketplace, right?
oh, yeah.
Ethically, it's a little bit. I haven't decided yet, but
Oh,
um, just because of Amazon and what it represents and how people are feeling about Amazon these days. Um,
yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting thing you bring up. I never thought about it in that way, but from a business, like from a purely business standpoint, right? It's got to be like the place to be, right?
yeah, exactly. But then, if you're trying, if you have certain, I don't know, I guess if you have certain ethics or values and you're like, I don't want to go against those, then, creates a quandary.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And in terms of growing what you're doing, do you foresee any other future products that you're working on inside your head? And
Yeah, well, the stencils, I think I'm going to add one or two more, and one or two more. So I have products that fill in the stencil. So I'm going to come out with a couple of other shades. But I'd say for the next 5 years, I want to stay with the eyebrow products. Again,
Hmm,
um, the beauty industry is growing at an incredible rate. There's no
yeah,
signs of it slowing down. I don't feel the need. I do presently carry a few other products, but I really want to hone in on the eyebrow product because it's like I've been eyebrow obsessed for as long as I can remember.
Now, you bring up an interesting point there. I'm curious about that. The you mentioned the beauty industry is growing. Why do why do you think that's happening these days?
These days. I think for various reasons. I think social media, the there's a bit of a contradiction. There's the whole like with the filters and everything, everybody wanting to look better and enhanced.
Mm.
I think that's part of it. Whether it's be what, like I said, whether it be with filters or without. Um, as far as purchasing beauty products, I think also too that the industry is starting to acknowledge women over their 40s. I don't think it's a fad. I
Mm.
think they're starting to hone in and see that market is like they're out there and we're not shrinking like our parents did. Do you know what I mean? Like our
Mm.
parents were, they passed the age of 50 and they sort of fade off into the background. That's not happening anymore.
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think people want to feel better and one way of doing that is looking better or doing what they can to look better. I think too the beauty space is considered more now a need versus it used to be a want. I see it. I think people see it more as a need.
And also, I guess in terms of a competitive advantage, so to speak, when the job market isn't that great out there, right? And first impressions are always big, right?
Totally, totally. Well, the first impression is what the first 3 seconds someone meets you,
Yeah,
and whether they admit it or don't even realize, right? This is what they see first. This,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. What if you were talking to a younger person that was interested in becoming an entrepreneur, what advice would you give them?
I would advise them to not go to university. I'd encourage them possibly to go to college where they get a more hands-on type training. Um, Hone into, start learning to trying to teach themselves if they haven't already, various apps that are considered experts in their field. So say someone wants to be an entrepreneur in graphic design. Well, what are the current top graphic design apps or software that are being
Yeah,
used? Figure it out. Figure it out yourself or take an online course.
yeah.
Um, yeah, but don't feel the need that again, this is just my opinion. Don't feel the need you have to go to university for 4 years to get a business degree because in the outside world, it's very, very different.
Yeah, no, it surely is. I always recall my first year after university, 4 years of university in journalism, right?
Yeah.
And my first job, you hit the pavement running, and I always said I learned probably in the first few months learned more about being a journalist than the 4 years of university, right? Not
I
to
know.
not
Yeah.
to knock that,
No,
because it gave
no.
me a good base and everything.
Yeah.
But until you really do it, like for real, that's when you learn, right?
Yeah. Totally. I totally agree with you.
Yeah,
Yeah. And to be open to it,
yeah,
you know?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Was it scary, like for you when you first started to go on your own?
Yeah. I mean, like, I used to, I had a handful of jobs on my own, but then when I went to Toronto and started, came out of school and everything, yeah, it was very scary because I was apprenticing, which a lot of people uh, may not know that apprenticing is you're not making a cent.
Mm, yeah,
You're on the job training and you're not making a penny. So then outside of those hours, you're trying to make a bit of cash so you can, pay the bills.
yeah,
So that was very scary. and you live pretty lean,
Yeah.
pretty lean.
Yeah.
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 Especially Toronto, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But the nice thing is having people, I had some good people that had my back. Like I told you, the guy who I was assisting, Kenny Lee, and his agents, they were all so good to me, encouraging and kind and helping me move forward. So that made a big difference.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thanks so much, Jennifer, for joining us today.
Thanks very much, Mario. It was a pleasure meeting you and chatting with you.
Okay, great. That was Jennifer Reynolds, who is founder of Gen of Arch. I always wanted to say Gen of Arc.
It's okay.
And I'm Mario Toneguzzi, managing editor of Canada's Entrepreneur. Thanks for joining us today.